Yeah, that's what you're waiting for. The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WPSL, but we're going to say it all anyway. And you're encouraged to like and share it on Facebook. Because this is the African American Scene, presented by Howard Insurance of Port St. Lucie, hosted by the one and only Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. My, we sure do have a lot of stuff going on. Woo-wee. Well, I just want to, we're going to have an open mic night tonight. And I'm going to get back to a topic we talked about last week, and I want to share some insights I got from that, which is about the elimination of the Electoral College. I got some feedback from that, but I'd like to open that up again. Do you think we should get rid of the Electoral College? And let me share this thought with you. We often talk about how we could bridge the divide between the right and the left. And I think the Electoral College, eliminating the Electoral College, is a perfect vehicle to make that happen. Now, before my conservative friends go crazy, and the phone number is 340-1590, let me tell you why. First off, and I think I said this last week, but I'm going to say it again. The vast majority of the federal tax dollars that is used to take care of our country are generated by California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Florida is another one. They generate most of the dollars that the federal government uses to take care of our country. Why should they be relegated to second banana because of the Electoral College? So should West Virginia, who puts in 1/10 of the amount of money that California puts in, be able to have equal standing with the people of California? In my opinion, the answer to that is no, they should not. The people who have the most skin in the game should be able to have some say-so. Now, my conservative friends who are now kicking the radio and screaming at me as I speak, let me tell you why. The Constitution made the creation of 2 senators for every state. There are those who feel that is improper to have 2 senators from every state, especially when you have states that have less population than the city of New York or the city of Los Angeles. I'm not one of those that complains about that, because I think that is an offset to allow those states to have a say-so on equal footing with every other state in the United States. Did you get that? Every state has 2 senators. So even little bitty West Virginia and North Dakota have the same number of senators as New York and California. And I agree with that, because there should be a sense of balance, and I think that's where the balance comes in. But I don't agree that South Dakota, North Dakota, and West Virginia should be able to override the people from California or New York. They have the most of the skin in the game. Now, let me tell you why. More importantly, I think the elimination of the Electoral College would be good. If you eliminated the Electoral College, the Republicans would have to do what Democrats already have to do. They would have to try to garner votes from all states, not little pockets and enclaves in the country, to support them. So that would automatically force Republicans maybe to modify some of their positions and to make a play for Democratic voters that they now don't make because they feel insulated because of the Electoral College and only having to play to West Virginia and South Dakota and North Dakota as their safe havens for trying to help them win an election. So if you had that, just think about that for a second. You would eliminate those little pockets, and the people that ran for the Republican Party would have to try to garner votes from traditionally Democratic districts. Democrats do it all the time. We've always done it. Gone in and tried to garner Republican votes based on some of our beliefs and philosophies about how things should happen in the government. The Republicans don't, because they put you through a test of ideological purity. And that ideological purity eliminates many voters that would be available to them. And if you've listened to me for any length of time, I have said probably for the last 5 or 6 years, there would be an opportunity for Republicans to get some black votes if they would stop that foolishness of making stupid statements which inflame people and turn them off. Some years ago, probably 7, 8 years ago, there was somebody courting me to try to go into the Republican Party, and I wavered on that for just a minute. And every time I even gave it a thought, some new stupid statement will come out, and I go, I can't do that. I can't even think about even considering that anymore. And now it's so far removed from a thought process of mine that, it's just not realistic. But I want you to think about that. Just think about what I just said. Think about the unity, I think, the divide. If the Republicans no longer had that safe haven of those little enclaves of protection, and they had to reach out to all people, that would help bridge the divide. Believe me, that would work. We would begin to be able to bring our country together again. And let me say this to you also. The president had the audacity yesterday, I believe it was, to say that his impeachment hearings are similar to lynching. I want you to know, from me personally, that was deeply offensive. That was deeply offensive to me. Likening his impeachment hearing to lynching. And we got Steve on line one. Yes, sir.
How you doing, Rudy?
Okay.
You got to keep in mind that 99% of the people that hold political office are crooked. I mean, let's just face it. They got in there by doing favors, and they stay in there by doing favors. Here's the key. The average guy has to get off of his dead butt, and he's got to vote.
Agreed.
And that's it. That's the only way we're gonna get anywhere.
I agree. They do. But I think, Steve, do you understand the point that I'm trying to make? Republicans count on these little pockets and enclaves where they feel protected. So they don't feel that they have to speak to the independent and, they try to speak to the independent, but they really don't care about trying to speak to.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. But let me tell you something. We got that way because people said, what's my vote going to count? It's not going to count.
Okay.
Guess what? Those other people went out and voted.
Yeah, okay.
And then they got the right to make those little pockets.
Okay.
So,
I can't argue with you about that.
they're not right. I'm not saying that. In fact, the Democrats outnumber Republicans 2-1 in this country.
Yes, they do.
And I got some really, really bad news for Donnie the Common. They announced today that the 5, 6, 7, and 8-year-old population is larger than the baby boomers was. So we're going to have a generation coming along here in the next 10 years that's going to be bigger than the baby boomers.
Wow.
What are we going to do for them for jobs and schools and housing and everything else if they don't get involved?
It's very true.
What we decided to do was we're going to the disabled and seniors that nobody really cares about, and we opened a political action committee, and membership is you have to register to vote. That's it.
Yeah.
And vote whoever you want, but you have to be registered. And what we're doing is hoping to have a political punch.
Yeah.
You know, you get 6, 8, 10,000 people registered in a city like this, 200,000. Getting 10,000 shouldn't be any problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then we can pack a political punch, and then we can change some of these things, like the 60% raise that the mayor just gave himself and the 40% that the council got.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. They make more part-time than some people full-time here. That's disgusting.
All right. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, too. So keep listening. Yeah. All right. And I got another caller, Steve. All right. I'm going to talk about that. Winnie. How you doing, Winnie? Winnie.
She's waiting on the delay. Winnie, pick up the phone.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, I hear you.
Hello?
We're
I
right,
hear
we're
you.
Right here. You're on the radio right now. Winnie.
Yeah,
Rudy's listening.
can y'all hear me?
You must have your radio turned up too loud.
There's
y'all
a
hear
train
me?
going by. That's
Yes,
what it
I
is.
can hear you.
Yes, you're loud and clear on the radio. We even hear the train going by.
Yeah, you're right about that. Wait, Rudy.
Yes. What you have for me? What you got for me tonight? What you want to say? Winnie, what do you want to say? Now I'm gonna have to let you go if you don't have something to say. Okay, Cliff.
That train.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently, a train was going by and distracted her, so she couldn't hear.
Yeah. Okay.
And then got tickled by it because we stopped and think about it for a minute. What's going to mess anything up? When you're doing something, that's when something's going.
Yeah.
And the train will do that.
Okay. If you get it together, Winnie, you can call back. But listen, again, I'm just going to say to you, I said it at the opening of the show, and for those of you that have just tuned in, I'm going to say it again. For President Trump to equate his impeachment hearings with lynching was highly, highly offensive to me. I totally disrespect him for doing that. And if there's any of you out there that can support that, I don't think very much of you either. Because the impeachment process is a legal process created by the Constitution, and there's not any proximity whatsoever to lynching. So, and it just peeves me off that he would have the nerve to make that comparison. But I'll let that go because I could get on my soapbox and rant for another 15 minutes about that.
I think the word lynching might have more of a connotation towards the racism because that's what they called hanging men. But we've always hung traitors. We've always hung murderers, child molesters who kill the kids and throw them in a box or a pond or something. Yeah, we've done that, and we got to be real careful how we view what's said. And there's the code talk you've talked about.
That was coded language.
It's coded. It's encrypted. Yeah. Encrypted.
Yes, that was coded language. That was for the racists out there to get the idea that there's some kind of nefarious process going on, that he is not being treated justly. And while you may have your own opinion, there's a constitution that's governing this process. And the Constitution spells out precisely what is to happen in an impeachment. So to equate an impeachment hearing process to a lynching is just absolutely abhorrent.
Well, if it's not really an impeachment at this point, that it really couldn't be a real lynching type of thing. It's a little over dramatized.
Yeah.
Because did you hear what Lindsey Graham said today?
He agreed with it.
He said he agreed it was a witch hunt. He got right to that point. He did call it a witch hunt.
No, yesterday he said there's no question it was a lynching. He did. He said there was no question it was a lynching. Now, maybe today, after people yelled at him because Mitch McConnell didn't agree with it, Mitch McConnell said that was a dark period in our history. I am not supportive of that language. And Kevin McCarthy, who's usually the lapdog for him, said, no, I would not have used that language. So you had, those are two of the main leaders in the Republican Party, and they both turned their back on him with using that language. But that, yeah.
Okay.
So let me get to this thing here that just blew my mind, and I got to thank my uncle for bringing this to my attention. He called me up and he said, nephew, I just read this article and you've got to see it. And I said, okay. And he brought it over to my office, and I made a copy of it and I read it. And it absolutely blew me away. There is such a thing called the Brady Rules. Bet you never heard of them, and I think I'm a pretty learned guy, and I've never heard of them before. The Brady Rules came about in a case between Brady and Maryland, and the Supreme Court ruled in that case that when there is evidence of a police officer who's testifying against a defendant of bad behavior or a record of false testimony or having been disciplined, they are required, the prosecutor and the police department are required to report that information to the defense. And they are supposed to keep something what's called the Brady list. I knew none of this, okay? And this court decision happened in 1963. And it says the prosecutors must tell anyone accused of crime about all evidence that might help their defense at trial. That includes sharing details about police officers who have committed crimes, lied on the job, or whose honesty has been called into doubt.
Now, this came out in 1963.
1960? You've never heard it before?
Sure. All right. I wonder how many defendants have been majorly dissed by this all along, and nobody, we never heard about it. Now we know. Now you've opened up a can of worms, Rudy.
Oh, man.
And we got to feed them things now.
Hey, listen, when my uncle called me up, he was all excited about it. He said, you have got to read this, because he said, I know you'll want to talk about this on my show. And after I finished reading it, I went, wow.
Yeah, I wonder if our ultra-conservative superheroes have anything to say about that.
Oh, man. You know? Yeah. That's 340-1590. Now, and the USA Today network investigation found that widespread failure by police departments and prosecutors to track problem officers makes it impossible to disclose the information to people whose freedom hinges on the integrity of law enforcement.
Well, duh, you think? Wow.
Wow, this is just absolutely amazing. And it goes on to say, and wait, before I go any further, let me just make this point very clear, because I'm sure I'll get one of these phone calls. I am not anti-police. I have a kid on the Port St. Lucie Police Department who's like my son. He calls me Uncle Rudy. And when he was thinking about going on the police department, he came to me and I said, by all means, do it. I think the police department could use you. So before you call up and say I'm anti-police, I am not anti-police. And I encourage my young friend, who's like my other son, to join the police department. And I'm glad he did, and he's now a police officer with the department. So now let me continue on. But I needed to say that because I don't want anybody calling up here saying I'm anti-police, because I'm not. I'm giving you factual information. The USA Today network investigation found that widespread failure by police departments and prosecutors to track problem officers makes it impossible to disclose information to the people whose freedom hinges on the integrity of law enforcement. And Al on line 1.
Hey, Al.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
Rudy?
Yes. Yes.
You only got one
yes.
more chance. Speak to Rudy. He's listening to you. You're on the air, sir.
Go ahead, Al.
Hey, Rudy. Okay, I had a question, Rudy. I was reading on Yahoo News yesterday that with this lynching statement that's been going on, that they brought up that Adam Schiff brought it up during the Clinton administration, and someone else brought it up during Nixon's. They used the term lynching. And I don't ever remember a big deal about it now, but now, because Trump is saying it, why is it a big deal?
Okay, let me ask you this, Al. You think that's perfectly appropriate?
Hello?
Do you think that's appropriate? Al, do you think that's appropriate?
I think Al's cut off. He disappeared.
Okay. Okay, wait a minute. He just started to come back up again.
He's gone. I already pushed the button.
Okay, all right.
You got to answer questions on the show. If you're going to be on the radio, you got to listen to what's being asked of you, and you got to answer the question.
Okay,
That's us, Al. Call back.
I will give you a chance to call back because I want to know if you think that that's appropriate. That's my question to you. Do you think it was appropriate for him to compare his process of impeachment to lynching? Do you think that was appropriate? The answer is, please answer the question. Is it appropriate or not? Okay. Now, the investigation found thousands of people have faced criminal charges or gone to prison based in part on testimony from law enforcement officers deemed to have credibility problems by their bosses or by prosecutors. And we have Al back online. Yes, Al.
Hello?
Yes. Yes, Al. Turn your radio down. That's why you can't
Turn the
hear.
radio off and keep the phone in your ear. We're on the phone. The delay is on the radio.
I'm on.
Okay, all right.
Speak to us.
Okay, my question is I was reading on Yahoo yesterday that this thing about the lynching, going back when Clinton got impeached, that Adam Schiff made a comment about lynching, and another comment was made during the Nixon impeachment. Like nothing was said about it, no big deal about it. Now I'm trying to figure out why, because Trump said it. Why is there a big deal going on about this term?
You proved that to me that's said. You proved that to me. Tell me where you got that, and I will look it up.
Hello?
Yes, I said, you prove that to me. I will look it up, but I will tell you this. I don't care if it was said under Clinton. I don't care if it was said under Nixon. I don't care if it was said under Obama, and it was said by a black cabinet member of under Obama. That's offensive. Period. Period. There is no wiggle room on that. That's offensive. Hello?
Okay, we're going to have to discontinue with
Okay,
a caller
all right.
that does not exist.
Okay.
He doesn't say anything. It's the same thing.
Okay.
And then still doesn't listen.
Yeah. Now, it is a requirement that prosecutors keep lists. It's called the Brady list of these officers who have questionable character and who have been accused of false statements and lying in their testimony. There are others that are keep lists, but they're incomplete. At least 1,200 officers with proven histories by lying and other serious misconduct who have not been flagged by prosecutors of the officers, 261 were specifically disciplined for dishonesty on the job. Okay. And we have Chuck on line 1. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey,
Chuck.
Hey, how we doing, Rudy?
I'll turn the
Okay.
delay off so you can hear. I guess everybody's listening on the radio tonight.
Okay, Chuck.
Okay.
Hey,
that delay is-
hey,
Yes.
I'm here.
Okay.
Well, say something.
How we doing, Rudy?
Okay. How about yourself?
How we doing, Rudy?
Okay. How about yourself?
Hello, Rudy.
All right. All right.
Hey, Cliff.
Last
Your-
chance.
your-
Last chance
your
to not be
radio's
cut
up.
off and banned.
Your radio's
Keep
up too loud.
The phone in your
Well,
ear.
Your radio's up too
Well,
loud.
I'm
Rudy,
on-
I'm not listening to you. You got to listen to me for a second, okay? I'm in the phone. Rudy's on the phone. You're on the phone. Rudy can hear you. You're not listening to Rudy because you appear to not hear him. And
I
there's,
can't hear Rudy.
Well-
I can't hear Rudy.
well, that's just too bad then, I guess, because it's not working. If your phone doesn't work, you got to consider getting another phone. But try it one more time. Hold on a
Turn
second,
the
Chuck.
radio down. That's why you can't hear me.
Okay, did you hear that?
Turn the radio down.
Did you hear that? Okay, he didn't hear that either. Did you hear Rudy say turn the
I
radio
hear it
down?
very far in the background.
Well, you're all both the same level on the air, and all you're doing right now is wasting our time. So state what you need to state and get aside so Rudy can answer your comment. Okay, tell
Go
him
ahead.
what you want to hear.
I tell you what, Rudy, I am you. Because I have something. This is the person that you talked about last week to all your good listeners.
Okay.
I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this on the air, but as we seem to have some technical problems at the station,
Oh, no, I'm not going to let you say that. You are having the technical problems on your phone. Now get off of this blame game and state your cause.
I am disagreeing with him on his electoral college
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
Here, Rudy, use my mic.
Is there, Rudy?
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead.
Oh, there you are. Finally.
I gave him my
Finally,
mic.
I can hear you.
Okay. All right.
All
right.
Yeah,
Continue.
I can hear you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Over the radio so that the people would know I'm the person you talked about last week.
Okay.
His name
I have
is
also done more research on William Clinton.
Okay.
I understand where our disagreement on his voting record for garnering vote was. I was looking at the votes that were taken away by H. Ross Perot and that were taken away by other people in 1996. And I stand here as a man before you and admit, yes, you are correct.
William Jefferson Clinton never lost the popular vote.
Okay.
And, all right?
Yep.
Now, as far as the Electoral College goes, his wife is a perfect example as to why you need the Electoral College.
Okay.
Well, Bubba
Tell me why.
knew how to use it. Well, Bubba knew how to use it. He went to those states. He garnered those states. His wife went to the places you're talking about. California, New York, all the places that put in all this money and should get all the rights. All right? She lost because she didn't go to other places. Now, I want to give you a rundown because you're complaining that people in Montana get more rights to the vote.
I'm not
Let me finish.
complaining.
More votes
Go ahead.
about the votes in the Electoral College. They get 3 votes. Your leading the state is California, 55 votes. Texas, 38. New York and Florida, 29. Pennsylvania and Illinois, 20. That's 191 votes. That leaves 79 votes. That's 71% of the vote. You have Ohio, Ohio at 18, North Carolina at 15, Virginia at 13, Indiana, Tennessee, and your choice of either Massachusetts or Arizona to garner the 270 votes you need.
Okay.
Delaware has 3 votes. Montana has 3 votes. Rhode Island has 3 votes. South Dakota, all those have 3 votes. And did you see any of them close to having anything to do with turning the Electoral College? It's all in the states you say that people need to run.
Well, the point that you make,
I know it's a lot of numbers to throw at you.
No, I got no problem with
numbers,
that.
man.
I know there's diversity in terms of the electoral vote based on the state. I'm well aware of that, but that still doesn't change my mind about whether or not we should accept popular vote as opposed to electoral college vote. I'm not persuaded
You
by
want a
that.
republic democracy.
What?
You want a republic democracy. You don't want a constitutional republic.
No, I just want a process that is consistent with everything in our life except for the President of the United States. From the time we're in elementary school, majority vote wins. Junior high school,
Yes.
majority vote wins. High school, college, Congress, Senate, majority vote wins. Only when it comes to the presidency does the electoral vote override the popular vote.
Okay, you have to study the Federalist Papers. There are people in there that argue why there should be no electoral college, and you have those that say the people are too stupid to vote their own president. Now take a look at what you just said. Everybody up to the President of the United States is a majority vote. Why? Stop and think. Why has the presidency of the United States, by the Constitution, been under such a strict ruling? Why it's so hard to elect a president? It's because they feared another dictator. They feared another king, someone that could come in on a popular surge and get the vote.
That's true.
Now, you can call me a conservative all you want. I've gotten over that because you're never going to change. But that's what it is, Rudy. That's why it's so hard. You cannot do away with the Electoral College. It has worked since it began, and I think it's done as well.
Okay, let's talk about it because I have done a little research on that. Part of the reason why the Electoral College was created because there was not confidence that people would be able to have the factual information to make the right judgment regarding a president. That was many hundreds of years ago. Fast forward to today, 2020, 24-hour news cycle, internet, and all kinds of other things where people are able to get news to make a decision. So that thing which they worried about when they created the Constitution no longer is an issue. People have adequate information to be able to make a decision. So the origin of the Electoral College, I understand the principle upon which that was done. And while I may have some argument about it, it at least makes sense to me for back then. Does that make sense in 2020? The answer to me is no.
I rigorously disagree with you.
I know you do.
Because, well, there's a reason why, Rudy. I talk with people just like you talk with people. And some of the stupidity that I hear from people of, did you hear what this person said? Like, that is nothing like what has been reported. They're listening to, but to them, if it's on the internet, it's God's gospel. Okay? So we still have the same problem. The electorate, excuse my word, is ignorant. There are those of you like you and me and Cliff and others who study, who take the time to see who is running and vote. Most of the people are too busy getting on with their lives to just get film clip here or there, and overhear somebody say something else. I still say it's a valid source.
Well, thank you, sir. I got another phone call here. Thank you.
Okay, Rudy.
Thanks,
I'll talk with you later on. I am. All right, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Yes, Steve.
Hey, Rudy. Good to talk with you.
Yeah.
Throw in my 2 cents. First of all, you know what they say about making assumptions.
Okay.
Oh.
You know, we understand that.
Yeah, we don't have to break it all down, right?
The word lynching, which you were talking about, you were making a bunch of assumptions that it was code words and stuff. And I guess you already seen on the news that Nadler used that word and Kerry used that word and Biden used that word during the impeachment of Clinton and looking at it as a railroad. So, that's one of the good things about the United States. Hey, things can be said offensive, and actually, in a lot of cases, they need to be said. And if that was the case...
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are you saying that needed to be said?
No, I don't care whether it's said. It was already said in the past about... Actually, Clarence Thomas used the word.
Yeah.
No, Clarence Thomas used the word. So, I mean, it's not a word that has not... That I guess, again, if you assume and you get offended by it, that you can. But there's a lot of things that you say that you're not going to change saying because you offend me.
Okay.
Okay, and you know that for a fact that you've said things on the radio. So that's one point of view that in America we are able to say offensive things, and we should be able to discuss them. The hard part about right now is, I'll say both sides, but I feel it's more on the Democrat side, that they get to define the terms. They get to define all the actions. There are more Democrats than there are Republicans. But you understand that by districts, Hillary Clinton lost by leaps and bounds over Trump, by districts, because of the population. Yes, I like what the man said before. He said, do you want to live in a democracy or do you want to live in a republic? A republic means you have the opportunity by yourself to be represented, whether you're the majority or the minority. A democratic type of leadership, which you support, because you're on the Democratic side and you know there are more Democrats, you would assume that, and I use that word in the same sense, that it would be beneficial for the Democrats to
That's not the point. That's not the point. Wait. I want you to hear the point. The point that I was making is not necessarily because it is favorable to Democrats. The point that I'm trying to make is doing away with the Electoral College would be good for the country. And the reason why it would be good for the country is that conservatives could not pander to a small niche of the country. They would have to listen to me for a second and learn something. They would have to speak to all members of the society. And I'm gonna let you respond. And I got another caller I got to take.
Yeah, all doesn't mean right. And in education, if you looked at the men on the street, there are people that are voting that don't even know anything about anything in the Constitution. There are people that are directed by, as you would say, television stations or radio stations or popular people or whatever, and they really don't get down to it. And so that's one thing that really we have to think about, you know.
All right, I got to let you go. I got another caller. Okay, Barbara, how are you?
All right, good, Rudy. How are you doing, you and Cliff? I have to make a comment on. I haven't listened to the rest of Chuck or Steve because I've been waiting online, on my phone. But I have to disagree with you with the Electoral College being eliminated. And the reason I say that is because I have a lot of friends and I have many, many relatives who do not research things. They only listen to what their quote-unquote stars and actors and musicians tell them. And if you have a musician or an actor or actress who hates, let's say, Trump, all right, they're not ever going to vote for that man or any other person who would want to improve America or keep America great, as Trump says, all right? So I disagree with you. And I'm just I'm talking maybe 30 people that I know that don't do anything except listen to the television and what's fed to them from actors and actresses. So they have no idea what's really going on. Oh, this actress said that this person is terrible, so I will never vote for them. Or I'm not voting for my mayor or my governor of Florida because somebody told me on TV that he looked cross-eyed at somebody, and I don't want anybody doing that to anybody else looking cross-eyed. This is the type of people that are out there. They're not all proactive and trying to figure out who the best candidates for whatever office.
So you're saying that the Electoral College protects us from ourselves. Is that what you're saying?
It protects us from the Americans who do not know why or what they are voting for.
Do you think, this is a hypothetical,
okay,
do you think Americans are more educated in 2019 than they were in 1950?
Educated at that time from schooling, I would say no.
I'm not talking about schooling. I'm talking about in 1950, the average person that voted, did they have roughly the same level or more knowledge than the people in 2019?
I'm going to say that the 1950s, yes, they were in better educational thought processes than a lot of the people in 2019, yes.
Okay.
And I also go back to that from all of my younger relatives, my nephews and nieces, who have been indoctrinated by crazy thoughts when they're in college. I mean, they come out with these statements, and
Like what?
I can't even respond to them.
Like what?
Well, I can't even give you an example now because at the time it was, I'm talking a few years back. But it was just like, I just didn't even know how to respond to what they were being taught.
Well, let me just tell you this, Barbara.
Okay.
When I entered the doors of my college as a freshman,
Mm-hmm.
my mind was probably about the size of a pea. The world was small. I didn't know much about the world. And as I matriculated through college and got exposed and professors pressed buttons on me to make me think, my mind expanded and my thought process expanded. And so at the end of the day, when I graduated, I was nothing like the kid that started out 4 years earlier. Nothing.
Well,
I had totally changed. So for your nieces and nephews who have changed, that is not a surprising result. But I got to let you go. I got one more call. Thank you, Barbara.
Okay, bye-bye.
Please call back again. Yes, Jay.
Hello, Rudy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good afternoon. How you doing, man?
Okay.
Okay, now, I'm listening to all these people, and what was really missing, and I felt a little sorry for you when you brought up the situation about the lynching and what the president said and what Lindsey Graham. Now, this is a senator from South Carolina. He's all those black people in South Carolina. He had the nerve to say that the president was right when he said lynching. And then the other senator who was black, he just sat by and Scott. Yeah, his name is Scott. He's the other senator from South Carolina. He kind of he didn't want to talk about it. Now, this is a black man that in South Carolina there probably were thousands of lynchings. I'm almost sure that if you go back or you can get some, go and do research, you find there's plenty of thousands of lynchings in South Carolina. Go ahead.
You're right. South Carolina was one of the states where it had some of the most lynchings in America. You're right, 100%.
Better believe. And I just want to just tie this up in loose ends. The problem we're having now is that they took civics out of the school, out of the curriculum. That's one of the big. I'm listening to people, and it's like they don't even know a lot of the basic things. And the electoral college was designed for the Southern strategy. It was designed to make sure that those folks that were for slavery and all that. This was to appease them, to make sure that everything stays where they had the white privilege, and that was all part of the game. That's what that was all about, and it's not. I don't think it's too difficult to figure it out. But it seemed like people have a hard time understanding why we still have the electoral college, and it just goes on. It's up to us to change it. We have to get out there and vote, and I'm glad today. I was talking to one of Gertrude Walker's helpers, and they're going to the schools, and they're going to register young people that are 17, so they'd be pre-registered to vote when they're 18.
Well, Jay, one of the most encouraging things that happened this past week was when the judge said you cannot block somebody's restoration of rights because they can't afford to pay the fees. Mm-hmm. That had deeply offended me because the people went out and worked hard to get the necessary signatures on the petition to put that on the ballot. Right. And they got it on the ballot, and it won fair and square. And then they come up with a daggone gimmick after it won to try to keep those people from voting.
Well, they know what's happening. That's why they see, the Republicans have been doing this since Reagan came into office. That's when a lot of this stuff started changing, and it just never stopped. They just had this. They were dogmatic about it. I give them a lot of credit. They were organized. They stuck together, and even today, the Supreme Court just said that gerrymandering is okay as long as the state goes along with gerrymandering. It's all right. They said they came out with the ruling. I think it was either today or yesterday.
Yeah,
the case is up there in the Supreme Court that it's okay to gerrymander as long as you're in charge. As long as you're running the state, you can do whatever you want. That's what they. So that tells you how things turn and how elections are so very important. And I'm very disappointed, and I was very disappointed when it happened when President Obama didn't fight for his Supreme Court pick.
Me too.
I was very disgusted when he didn't do that because I knew what was going to happen.
Listen, Jay, I'm with you. That's one of the things, and I love me some Obama But I was very pissed off at him that he did not make that fight.
Yeah, he should have fought to the end for that.
He should have fought with his last breath about that. You're right.
Yeah. Take care, man.
All right, thanks, Jay.
Have a nice evening.
Okay, you too. Well, we got a little slow start.
I'll tell you
boy.
what.
We had.
I'm glad that Chuck got through it. We while Chuck was talking, when we changed microphones, I was able to determine that a connection that we have no way of seeing and knowing about. I had to take a wild guess. I suspected your mic, because we hear you on the radio, and we could hear you. There's 3 channels. What we do. There's the program channel, which sends us to the transmitter and the World Wide Web live stream. Audition is everything we want to feed into the callers on the phone. And then utility feeds to Skype. But there's a wire that goes to the utility to that mic that I'll bet you, I'm not an engineer, so I'm going to have the engineer check it, but I'll bet you one of those audition wires on that particular mic had a little problem, and they were having trouble hearing you.
Okay.
So we apologize for that. And that was a darn good call from Chuck, though,
Yeah. I'm
okay,
glad.
we're down to the time now. Wow.
I am very grateful that he was gracious enough to call up and accept the fact that he was wrong. A lot of people can't do that. I respect him for doing that. Well, folks, we're coming to the end of the hour, and I'm going to say 2 things to you. Friday, there's a movie coming out called Black and Blue. I certainly hope you go out and take time to see it. It's about a police officer in the black community. And please, by all means, go out and take a look at it. Next week, I hope to have somebody on here talking about credit repair. So thank you for listening to me. Be safe. God bless, and I will see you next week right here for the African American Scene.
The African American Scene, Wednesday evenings right here.
The Howard Insurance Agency in Port St. Lucie reminds you every year around this time we have what's called the open enrollment period, going on now through December 7th for people who receive Medicare. It's a time when you should review your plan, make changes, and switch to another plan if you choose to. There are many cost-saving options, and it can become quite confusing. That's where the Howard Insurance Agency can help. Call Rudy Howard at 343-9878. If you have Medicare insurance questions, he'll be glad to help with no cost for assistance. Remember, at the Howard Insurance Agency, they offer a wide range of insurance products: homeowners, auto coverage, and business insurance. So for all your insurance needs, call Rudy Howard of the Howard Insurance Agency, 343-9878. 343-9878, serving the entire Treasure Coast from their offices at 600 Southwest Darwin Boulevard, Port St. Lucie.